Another sentencing today for one of the insurrectionists who stormed the U.S. Capitol on January 6. Pauline Bauer, who called for police officers that day to bring out then House Speaker Nancy Pelosi so the mob could, quote, hang her. She was sentenced to 27 months in prison today. Her lawyers telling the judge she deeply regrets her actions that day. Another January 6 insurrectionist showing no signs of remorse after serving 29 months in prison. That's Jacob Chansley, a.k.a. the QAnon shaman. The red, white, and blue painted face of the Capitol attack is trying to profit off his role in the insurrection. According to an interview he gave to Raw Story, he's still pushing conspiratorial anti-government views and says they're stronger now than even the views he held before January 6. So what do we do as a country with criminals like that, now that Trump and fellow Republican candidate Ron DeSantis are considering publicly pardons for the insurrectionists? Joining us at the table, former FBI Director Jim Comey. He's the author of a new crime novel, Central Park West, which we'll talk about in a minute. I was thinking, and I said this to you in the break, that you would be in your 10th year as FBI Director if Trump hadn't fired you, because you didn't, what was it, see to it to let Flynn go. And you would have presided over, I mean, it was already making a turn, but you would have presided over an extraordinary shift where we've got your successor, Chris Wray, testifying to domestic terrorism and domestic violent extremism being by far the greatest threat to the homeland, with white supremacy being the biggest bucket within that umbrella. How would you have dealt with that?
Well, by pushing the FBI to increase the resources focused on it and to pushing the FBI culturally. And the FBI is a collection of people who don't want to do anything wrong, obviously. And so they're often worried when they investigate about getting close to a line of First Amendment expression. If you're going to do these cases well, of course you need to respect that line, but you need to look very, very carefully at those who are crossing that line into advocating violence without fear that some Republican committee on the Hill is going to call you and yell at you. You have to lean forward and do your job. And that's a leadership challenge for the director, to push his folks to do the right thing here.
Do you, from the outside, see that he's doing that?
I can't tell really what he's doing from the outside because he's very low visibility. And I guess I could understand why he would make choices like that. So I can't fully tell. I worry a little bit when I don't hear the director or the attorney general out speaking about the importance of these cases, why the January 6 cases matter so much. It's about general deterrence. I worry sometimes that the rank and file of the FBI don't fully understand why a misdemeanor case matters so much. Well, it matters because a shockwave has to be sent that says, don't you dare, don't you ever try to interfere in our constitutional processes. And that's a shockwave that has to be sent by leadership talking about it to their troops. There's
been a lot of news accounts that DOJ wasn't seriously looking at Donald Trump specifically until Cassidy Hutchinson's dramatic public testimony in the congressional probe into January 6. One, does that ring true to you? And two, why do you think that is?
The answer is I don't know. I would certainly hope that they were looking all up and down the stack of January the 6th, long before there was public testimony. But I don't know. I can't tell from the outside.
You used to have the position that the best way to deal with Trump was to vote him out. We did that. And last week, DHS issued a bulletin warning that if you read it, everybody except Republicans are at risk of domestic violent extremism intersecting with violence. I mean, it didn't work in terms of eliminating the threat of radicalized people who adhere to an ideology consistent with the things Trump says and tweets or truths or whatever it is he uses to communicate. Do you think that if Jack Smith finds evidence of criminality, that a prosecution is warranted?
Based on the facts that I can gather from watching the media, it would sure seem like especially the Mar-a-Lago case is the most serious. I didn't know anything about that, obviously, earlier in this series of investigations, but that looks like the one where he could be in most jeopardy. And if the facts are there, Jack Smith ought to bring that case. I never thought the threat would go away if we voted out Donald Trump, but imagine what the world would be like had we not voted out Donald Trump, what our country would be like today.
As you see him, you know, fat and happy on top of the Republican field for the primary, in the primary, what are your concerns about another Trump presidency?
Well, he represents a serious threat to the rule of law in this country, and anyone with eyes to see can see that. People criticize CNN for their town hall. I actually thought it was good that the American people could see this is what may be on the ballot in 2024. Someone who promises to do things that are antithetical to a constitution-based rule of law society. So I think he threatens that society, and the stakes, if he is the candidate, will be extraordinarily high.
What do you think the appropriate way to sort of understand that threat is? What do you think the balance is to be had between platforming the lies and the disinformation? You had his son tweeting some deep fakes about one of his primary opponents. I mean, have you spent time delving into the policy questions around a Trump candidacy at this moment?
I haven't. I mean, I'm a fiction writer, which we're going to talk about.
I know you are. A good one. A good one.
But I do think that Donald Trump is the leader of a cult who has radicalized his followers. And dealing with a radicalized populace is incredibly challenging because it's so hard for someone who's been defrauded and radicalized to walk away. I get why so many of his followers want to memory hold January the 6th, because those images whisper to those people, "You fool, look what you did." And that's too painful for most humans to deal with. So they memory hold it and they go deeper into the cult. That's a phenomenon we've seen in Islamic radicalism. That's a phenomenon we've seen in religious radicalism. It's an enormous challenge. The most important thing is that we as a free society use our votes to make sure the cult leader is not returned to a position where he can really do damage to our country.
That explains his base of support and their fervor. What explains elected Republicans like Mitch McConnell saying he'd vote for him again?
There are people who like their jobs better than the alternatives. They don't love the idea of being a cabinet salesman.
Liz Cheney, right?
Yeah, right.
A novelist.
Exactly.
Unemployed.
Right. There are people, quality public servants, Democrats or Republicans, ought to be people prepared to lose their jobs, where the job is rented, not owned. And we have a lot of people in government on the Republican side who've compromised everything in order to keep a job. And that's sad, but it's just a reality.
I wrote 3 novels after working on the Palin campaign because politics became deeply disillusioning to me. What drove you to a creative process?
I wasn't going to do it. I'd resisted the idea. And the editor of my second nonfiction book said, "Hey, have you considered writing fiction? You write scenes well." And I would say, "Dude, these aren't scenes. This is my life."
Cosa Nostra,
right,
that was
exactly.
Trump.
All right, life imitating art, imitating life. But I got nudged to try it, and I'm married to an amazing person, as you know, and she has great story vision. And she imagined this particular story and said, "You ought to give it a shot." And so I did and found it addictive. And it's what I want to do when I grow up.